arts, lifestyle. SNS Online.
Hello and welcome to SNS Online. Today's guest was one of the last 3 acts standing in the iconic Britain's Got Talent final of 2009, which had our interviewee pitched against a certain Susan Boyle and a dance act called Diversity, earning him 3rd overall place in the competition and watched by over 20 million viewers. Our guest, a mesmerising front-of-house soulful saxophonist, has gone on to great success, releasing albums, going on tours and working with the likes of Kenny G and the Stylistics, as well as guesting alongside Tony Hadley, Gwen Dickey, Hamish Stewart, Steve Ferrone, Chris Rea, M. People and Dina Carroll. His latest album, Being With You, really hits that musical spot and gives this interviewer those late-night smoky stage sax chills. Ladies and gentlemen, and all they thems, a very warm welcome to saxophonist extraordinaire, Mr. Julian Smith. So Julian Smith, saxophonist extraordinaire, and by gum I mean that. Welcome to SNS Online.
That's very kind of you, the extraordinaire part.
Oh, totally extraordinary. I mean, delicious sax vibes, I've got to say, so enjoyable to hear and wonderful to have that front of house where, as far as I'm concerned, it belongs.
Oh, that's very kind of you.
And what a fantastic career you've had to date and continuing to have. You've got a brand new album, Being With You, including the frankly mesmerising single Turn Back the Time, which was what introduced you to me and totally sold me on your music in general vibe.
Great.
I'm guessing the career plan definitely seems to be working for you.
Well, it's not going too bad. I mean, it's been a while since my little TV appearance. Actually, 15 years, maybe 16 years.
On Britain's Got Talent, yeah.
That's right. Yes, and I kind of, I went on there thinking that I might get my face shown on TV and might get a few more gigs off the back of it, and it kind of turned into something else, And from that, I kind of did a little tour around the UK in some nice little theatres, and then a lady came to one of my shows who was an agent for cruise ships, who asked me would I be interested, and I always thought whenever anybody mentioned cruise ships to me that I had to be away for months at a time. But she said, "Oh no, that's kind of an entertaining. You can just jump on for a few days." And I said, "Oh, okay, that sounds interesting."
I didn't even realise that. I have a friend who's actually just doing it now, doing the cruise ships now, and
oh really?
Yeah, doing all the high stuff and keeping all the troops entertained.
Well, yeah, I mean, she kind of explained it to me because unless you kind of got this idea if you perform on a cruise ship you have to go away, but she said, "Oh no, there's a band on there and they play for you and you just jump on and off for a few days or a week at the most." And she introduced me to that, and I've been doing that ever since, amongst other things. So
amazing.
Yes, I mean, I'm very pleased. Yeah.
We have another guest on, Rachel Haunt, who was on quite a few years ago, and she won the first series of ITV Starstruck after she was on our show. So we like to think we were part of that. We weren't at all, of course. But since then, she's done a lot of cruise ship stuff. Actually, it seems to be where you get a big audience, you get a captive audience. That's for sure. But
exactly.
She's doing great guns as well. Let's roll it back a little bit to your early days. Now, apparently your father was a music teacher, is that right?
Yes, I mean, that's correct. I mean, that's probably the reason I would say, I managed to get my hands on various instruments at quite a young age and try out to see what I might be good at. I mean, I started the piano at a very early age, only 6 years old. And then came the clarinet when I was about 10 years old. I think one of the sixth form pupils of my dad at the college started teaching me. And again, I think it was one of the instruments in the cupboard. So I kind of took to that a little bit more easily. And then I thought, I want to play an instrument which is a bit more different, not so popular. So I found a bassoon in the back of the cupboard that no one wanted to play. I thought, this is an interesting instrument, and then I thought to myself, well, if not so many people play these later on in life, it might be useful. And as it turned out, when I came to auditioning for music colleges, I wanted to be a clarinet player, but I took my bassoon along as well for a couple of the auditions that had like a joint first study, and both of them said, "Oh, well, if you want to be a bassoon player, that'll be that'll be fine by us."
I had a friend who played the bassoon. I mean, it's not the sort of thing you can really take to a beach party, is it? But I mean, it's you can work it into stuff.
It's not the sexiest instrument, is it? But
no, absolutely.
But I wish I'd never sold my bassoon now, because I went online not so long ago, because I sold it and got a better saxophone when I started getting into saxophone, and I saw the price of how my instrument had increased in value, and I wish I'd been able to just keep it in the cupboard and still have it today. But there you go.
My partner Andy plays. Well, he allegedly he plays the French horn. I've never seen him play it. All I know is it's stuck in my room and is gathering dust. So if you want to buy a French horn cheap.
That's a super difficult instrument. Wow, that's impressive. You can play one of those. So I came out of music college with the bassoon, and I was getting a few jobs. I dipped for my bassoon teacher a few times at the Royal Shakespeare Theatre, and I was doing some, shows, those amateur dramatic shows and different things. But I mean, it was never going to, make me a fortune. And I was doing a little bit of teaching, and then I heard Kenny G playing the saxophone in around about 1990. I think it was 92 or something.
90s were a big time for the sax, weren't they?
That's right. And I'd already played alto and tenor saxophone. I had those, but somebody gave me this tape. It was at the time, and I remember when people used to copy. I shouldn't say this, but back in the day, people used to copy cassettes, didn't they? And put the music. Yeah, and somebody gave me this tape, and it had Kelly, not Kenny. It had Kelly G, and I was like, "Who's this Kelly G?" There was no picture on there. There was just a blank tape with the songs, and I started playing. I thought, I like this, and I hadn't got a clue where he came from, what he looked like, but I just knew I liked the music, and I started to investigate more, find out he was primarily playing the soprano saxophone. I thought, wow, I haven't got one of those. I need to try and get one, and I think probably that was the time I sold my bassoon to get a soprano saxophone.
So what about musical influences growing up? I mean, how did all this fuse to create the persona we have now that is Julian Smith?
Yeah, well, that's very interesting, because I very much came from a classical background. I actually sang in church choirs as a boy, and I played in the orchestras at school and also the wind band. So it wasn't really much to do with what I do now. But I remember getting into the sax a bit more later, and I say especially when I heard Kenny G, and I made this little band up, and I started playing his songs, and it just kind of gradually built up. But I never wanted to be a saxophone player, so it's kind of when I wasn't being taught anymore, I just listened to the things that I liked and started to emulate those. And there were other saxophone players I liked as well, like David Sanborn when I was playing alto saxophone, and Kurt Whalen would be another tenor saxophone player who I liked very much. And at the time there was someone who was playing on a lot of records called Snake Davis, who played on a lot of records in the mid-90s, and he was actually
great name.
Snake Davis is a great saxophone player, and he was in the Pebble Mill house band. They had a house band for Pebble Mill at one.
Yes, I remember.
And that was in Birmingham, and he was also sometimes playing at Ronnie Scott's, and I kind of got to meet him and ask him, could you give me a few lessons? And I was just having various influences, and eventually I realized when I played the alto saxophone, because I liked that saxophone player, I'd kind of start to sound like that person, and when I played another one, I started to sound like, and I thought I need to sound like myself and kind of stop hearing other people and just do my own thing. prior to Britain's Got Talent, I was making albums already. In fact, I realized pretty quickly, as soon as I started playing those Kenny G songs in public, people would say, "Oh, what's that song you're playing?" And I would tell them, and they'd toddle off and buy a Kenny G CD. And I thought, okay,
That's
okay,
hilarious.
I'll make a recording of my own, I think. So
Absolutely.
It set my mind in motion to make product very early on. And eventually I was making CDs, and then a few tracks got played to someone called Don Reedman, who was an Australian music producer who was responsible for the idea of Hooked on Classics back in the day. And
What is Hooked on Classics?
do you remember Hooked on Classics? K-Tel Records. This is a long time ago, and they were the first people to put like a disco beat behind classical music.
I mean, I thought that's what you meant. Yeah, I mean, I certainly have heard variants on that over the years. In that particular time period, yeah, it's got to be said.
Literally, when I was a child, these songs were coming out. When I was in the choir, I remember hearing them. And this gentleman, Don Reedman from Australia, is over here, and somebody got me some of my tracks to him, and he said, "Oh, some of this music might work on a series of albums. Hopefully, will be coming out on Sony called the Classic Chill Out album."
Ah,
so,
right.
Yeah, he placed a couple of my tracks on this series, and the first one. In fact, I remember it so well, and this will date when it was, because this album was up against Now That's What I Call Music 51.
Wow.
and it was winning.
I remember the first one. It was winning. Wow.
It was winning, so it did really well. And then there was a series of those came out. So, yeah, that was my first kind of real getting into making music that went on to
But apparently you're working with people like Tony Hadley and Chris Rea. Tell us about all that lot.
That was really because I'm living in the Midlands area, and when I started off my little band, I played for the very first time. We have a road in Birmingham called Broad Street where there are a lot of bars, and that's basically the first place I played for nothing. And the manager said, "Can you come and kind of do a little audition?" So myself and the keyboard player played there, and he said, "Can you play here every week?" And we only knew about 11 songs at that point. So we got our set together, and literally, I would say 300 yards up the road, we had Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club. And I know you have the one in London, but we had one for a while in Birmingham. And I begged the managers there, can I have an opportunity to play there? And they said, "Well, you need to prove yourself that you can bring people." And because I kind of built up a little following, I did get a few people through the door, and it became a regular place for me to play. And when I was there, I used to go and see the other artists as well, and I used to say to the managers, "Can you ask if I can join in and play saxophone on their night as well?" And sometimes I supported people, sometimes I actually joined in with them. And yeah, Tony Hadley was one of the people that performed there on a regular basis, and I jumped in and played with him. And then Gwen Dickey was someone else who I did that with too, and supported the Average White Band and Courtney Pine.
Yes.
And it was a nice experience.
Amazing. Tony Hadley. Yeah, Tony Hadley I've actually met. He seems a very nice guy.
Yes, I mean, it's a long time since I've seen him, but he was really nice to let me, an unknown person jump on stage and play true with him.
Absolutely. Now, so there's a few other down here. I've got a list on my notes here. M People, Chris Rea, do we meet Hamish Stewart? You've packed some big ones out.
Well, a couple of those directly came from. I mentioned a little while Snake Davis. He was actually playing with those artists, and he was getting so busy in that time that he couldn't do all of his gigs. And because I'd had a few lessons with him, and he saw what I could do, he would farm them out to me on occasion. So it was that was a nice contact to have made.
Hello there.
Hi,
What's your name, sir?
my name is Julian Smith.
And you've come to do what?
I've come to play soprano saxophone.
Okay, and what's your dream, Julian?
My dream would be to play to audiences like this on a regular basis.
This is the biggest stage you've ever had, though.
It certainly is. I'm a bit nervous.
All right, well, now's your chance.
Thank you.
Absolutely stunning, and to cry at a saxophone is something I was not expecting. It was wonderful.
Just very cool, all of it. The look, the way you played, the soul, the emotion, all of it. I think we've all been completely blown away by you.
Look, Julian, the whole idea about doing this show is to find someone, probably someone who actually needs a break, but who's got a huge talent, and I believe that we found that with you.
So let's talk about Britain's Got Talent. I mean, what a classic year. You were up against Diversity and Susan Boyle, which just shows how high the competition had got. And the fact that there you are in the final of one of the most popular shows on television with them is just incredible.
Yes, as I say, I mean, I didn't really expect to get that far. And
how far did you think? Did you just think you'd get a couple of shots of it, or?
Well, I mean, I didn't think I would get to the final particularly. I mean, but my aim was, if I could get to the final at that time, all the finalists would go on tour around arenas. So that was my goal, really. I just wanted to do that and be on tour in arenas. So, and when I managed to do that, that was all I could have wished for. Then to get third position with that many telephone books, I thought, wow, people have liked this, haven't they? Yeah. Because there's I think 20 million people watched the final, and there was about 700,000 votes came my way. So they either liked me or the saxophone or something. I don't know, but something worked.
One more time, let's hear it for the last act of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, Julian Smith!
So talk about Kenny G then, because of course you are sort of compared to him. I wouldn't say you're not completely unique in the sense that other people have done it, but it's quite an unusual thing to be so centre staged as a saxophonist. And you got to work with Kenny G as well, didn't you?
Well, I'd say working might be a little bit of a loose term, but we managed to play together. They made a surprise for me on the show. In fact, well, it was supposed to be a surprise, but one of the researchers let the cat out of the bag. I was on the phone to them, and they said, "Oh, you're playing with Kenny G at the Albert Hall today." And then I think he got a nudge in the ribs. I could hear him like that, and he was supposed to be a surprise. But so that's what happened.
Stand on the stage with me here at Royal Albert, and let's play a little songbird together.
This isn't happening.
Let's do that.
It's not happening. I'm dreaming.
It'll be fun.
I can't believe I can say I played in the Royal Albert Hall next to Kenny G with his band. It's unbelievable. And we kind of did keep in touch a little bit after that. But yeah, I mean, I think the soprano saxophone is particularly unique, and obviously he's probably one of the better known people for playing it amongst a few others. And I do, I sometimes when I go on stage and I clear it up, because I know some people don't even think it's a saxophone because it's straight. Yes. And I say, just to clear this up, this is a saxophone, and people say, no, it's not. And
yeah, it doesn't count. It's not. Where's Jerry Rafferty when you need him?
Exactly. They think it's a shape that makes a saxophone. It's not. Yeah.
Well, no, my brother is a saxophonist as well. He's in a band, and he has your
really?
saxophone. So yeah, shout out to Steve Randell,
Oh, nice!
who will be
Brilliant,
listening
fantastic.
definitely. Yeah,
And he plays all the saxophones, does he?
I'm not sure, but he's definitely got your one.
My soprano saxophone in the shape of a saxophone as well, which kind of looks a bit toyish. I remember, I don't know, earlier on in our conversation, I mentioned out of college, I dipped from my bassoon teacher at the Royal Shakespeare Theatre, and that was actually the first time I heard a soprano saxophone, because I was playing in the pit, if you like. And there a lot of people were doubling, and this guy picked this very tiny saxophone up, and it sounded amazing. And I thought, oh wow, I've never even seen one of those before. And it was actually a soprano saxophone, but not the straight one. It was shaped like a saxophone, and that was the first time I'd heard it. And then obviously people do know it's a saxophone because it's shaped like one, but then it's very tiny, and they think it's a toy. So it's the lesser of two evils, really.
So just to confirm, is this your 8th album now, or are we on 7 or 8?
I think it's something like that. All in all, I think that a few of them I didn't even kind of count in the early days. But yeah, I put a few different ones together, and then a few compilations of, the ones I've liked when I've built a few up. So yeah, all in all, I've made that many recordings. But this one is particularly special because I wrote some of the songs myself, and the reason it happened was because of the pandemic, and I was locked down, not being able to do what I would have liked to have been doing, and I had all this time on my hands, and I sat at the piano and thought, well, I might as well have a go at writing some songs here with all this time. And gradually things came out, and I'm really pleased that I've got a record of that time, and something positive came out of it.
That's wonderful. Give us some examples of particular favourites of yours, perhaps for personal reason or whatever, and we can give them a spin.
From the album, well, I like Being With You, which is the title of the album, and one of the tracks on there. I think it was one of the first things that came into my head when I sat down, and I just like how it kind of it starts off very simply and then develops into something more, and it's also a kind of a dedication to my wife, who I've been with for quite a long time now, over 20 years, and she's been my number one supporter. And
that's so lovely.
Yeah, so and it's I do like the piece as well.
And just to add, because I was reading that when you entered Britain's Got Talent, you were quoted as saying that you wanted to make life better for your family, and I was just thinking that got me right here. It did, Julian.
I do say as well when I'm on stage as well, and I say the reason I'm on this stage is because I entered the competition. And then when I talk about my wife, I said actually it's down to her because I didn't want to do it. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. And she sent off the application form even though I didn't want to. I said not to. So there you go.
That's amazing. So you worked with Ahmet Güvenç reworking a classic Turkish 1980s rock song. How did that come about?
Yes. Okay. Well, yeah. This is another kind of longish story. This song started off a little while ago, actually. I mean, my wife is Turkish again. We're coming back to her Iraz again, and we used to holiday in Turkey regularly. And I thought, well, it'd be nice to play a Turkish song. And we met this couple in one of the resorts, and I don't know how it happened, but I was getting on with the guy really well, even though he didn't speak very good English. We were like translating, and I got over to the point that I'd already played. I think I'd taken my saxophone on holiday, and I played, and he'd heard me play, and I said I'd love to play a Turkish song, but I need to get an idea of something that will be suitable. And I don't know how he saw this song would be good, and he said you should play the song called Dinance. So I went home and looked at it, and I thought, yeah, it's got a nice melody. So we kind of did a reworking of this song, and then I made a video. But originally, Ahmet Güvenç, I should explain. Ahmet Güvenç is the original bass player for Barış Manço, who is the artist who is no longer here. Okay. But what we did, just on, these days with social media, I just literally contacted Ahmet Güvenç and I said, I've made this song, would you like to play bass guitar? Just thinking that he would say no. We said, oh yeah, of course, that'd be great.
Wow.
So yeah, and then he recorded it in Turkey, sent it across to our producer over here, and put it all together. And so although we've never met each other, we've worked together in a recording.
That's fantastic.
Simsiyah gecenin koynundayım yapayalnız. Uzaklarda bir yerlerde güneşler doğuyor.
And then of course we have Sibel Tuzan.
Yes, who lead vocals
on there as well. And she represented Turkey in Eurovision.
Which year?
I think it was 2005 or 6.
We'll all be Googling it now.
And so she dropped in a vocal on it as well. So now it's become what it is, and it's on there.
Presumably you're well in demand now. Like back in the day, I'm thinking of Jerry Rafferty and obviously George Michael Careless Whisper. Is there still room for like a big sax break in a pop song? And have you been called to do anything like that?
No, I mean I haven't done a great deal of sessioning for other people. But in the 90s there was sax on so many tracks, and the 80s as well.
I remember some Vangelis tracks for Blade Runner. There was some good sax in it. Yeah,
yes,
there was a lot. Yeah, I mean, I suppose you could say it dates it to that period, but I mean, I just thought it sounded great.
I mean, these days, I think you do hear saxophone more in dance music. It's very popular, sort of with dance music tracks, but not in those, the chart music these days. But that has changed a lot, and it's less bandy anyway. It's more, it's more produced rather than actual bands, which would be nice if all that came back around again. One day.
No, absolutely, it would. Is it right that you recorded a track with Akabilt posthumously, a duet?
Actually, you're probably thinking that Akabilt was no longer around, but I actually went to Akabilt's house to record that together.
Wow! How long ago was that? Oh.
That was back in 2003.
I do apologise, Acapulco
no,
and the family of.
It was a little bit before. I think it might have been 2002. Yeah, I went to his house, Gloucester. I mean, I didn't really take any recordings and stuff. I should have done, but yeah, I went to his house, and when I was, as I say, the clarinet was, I think, the second instrument I put my hand on. And by the time I was 13, I used to drive everybody mad playing "Stranger on the Shore," Acapulco. So, forward the clock that many years, and I'm in Acapulco's house, and he's recording the song, asking me if it's okay.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was quite.
That's amazing. So this brand new album, where are you going to be taking it?
Well, I mean, it's just out there on all the platforms now, and it needs a lot of promotion. People like yourselves are really helping out by talking about it, and once I see which areas of the world might pick up on it, I'll start playing it out. I mean, I have a few gigs planned this year already, but. Yes, it's going to be a bit of second and see in this, it's a bit of a minefield now. So many, every Friday, thousands of people releasing music. It's not the easiest thing, but we'll just have to find out what people buy into it. I mean, the good thing about instrumental is that it can go anywhere in the world and people can appreciate it. So
yes. Instantly translatable, isn't it? The language of music. Have you travelled around the world working on music?
Well, obviously, the cruise ships thing has taken me a lot of places, but to actually play on the land in so many places I haven't done, that will be an amazing thing to do. Obviously, you need a really big profile to do that, and lots of marketing. But who knows? I would definitely like to do that. But let's see. And maybe Turkey might be somewhere that it might have.
Yeah, absolutely. or another gig with Kenny G sometime.
Oh, yeah, that would be nice. It was quite a funny story when we made there's a video for Dinunje on YouTube, and I went to Turkey, and this producer who was going to make the video, he was all organised it for me, and we went to this amphitheatre, ancient theatre, and we got there and we started taking the video equipment out, and the curator, or whatever you say, the person that was looking after the place said, "Oh no, you're not allowed to do any filming here."
Oh.
And it was a real disappointment. I travelled there with all this stuff, and the gentleman said, "Oh, this guy's from the UK, travelled from the UK." And I told him we'd be able to do a video here, and he plays the saxophone, and the guy said, "It's the saxophone? I love the saxophone." He said, "You can't play the love theme from The Godfather, can you, sir?"
Love it.
I pulled out my saxophone, and then he said, "You can film whatever you want."
I love it. And in an amphitheatre as well. What an amazing stage for your talent. That's fantastic.
Yes, it really looks good, actually. So I was quite grateful that I had that song in my head at the time.
Well, listen, Julian Smith, thank you so much. I'm so looking forward to seeing what the next chapter is for you. Being With You, your brand new album, is out on all platforms, as you said, and your single, Turn Back the Time, is on it. And the whole album is fantastic. So congratulations and continued success.
Thank you so much. I'm really grateful for having me on today.
Oh, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
All the best.